So I'm just going to read, hello children, I'm just going to read chapter 4 to you, so you've got it to help with your learning on Monday morning. We read through it earlier on in the week last week, and this is just to remind you. Okay, even though I could barely see the premature facial hair, once I knew it was there, I couldn't stop thinking about it. It was ticklish and it was so tempting to stroke it, but stroking it made other people notice it, and when other people noticed it, they tended to shout, "Wolverine!" and worse, which is why I decided to get rid of it. I slashed at the brown candy floss with Dad's razor, which did get rid of it, but sadly it also got rid of a lot of blood. Sheets of blood just sort of fell out of my face, and I wasn't quite sure what the procedure was, so I squashed a towel into my chin, and I carried on squashing, praying that I wouldn't die. And I carried on squashing and praying for about an hour, and I was starting to think that maybe I was already dead when Mum called me for supper. When I went down, she said, "What happened to you? You look like you bald your face," Dad said. "He's been shaving." "What? He can't shave. He's too young to shave, and he's much too young to shave." "Well, he's definitely too young to have a beard," said Dad, and he showed me how to shave in a less life-threatening manner. "The only thing is," he said, "now you've started, you'll have to carry on. The hairs will get harder and harder the more you shave them." So I don't get wisps of candy floss anymore. I get the stuff that looks like naturally occurring toilet brush. Mum said, "Liam, you've got to stop growing so fast. I'm not ready to lose my little boy yet." Mum got so worked up about all this that she took me to the doctor. The doctor said there was nothing to worry about, and that made Mum really worried. She asked to see the specialist. Specialist in what? Well, you read about these people, don't you? Who grow up too fast, the hair starts falling out, and when they're teenagers, they've got wrinkles and they look like old men, but really they're only 20. She never mentioned these people to me before, and she must have noticed the look of absolute terror on my face, because she said, "Oh, don't worry, they're very rare, but they do exist. You read about them on the internet." I was relieved when the doctor said, "No, I don't think I've read about them, to be honest. I could send you to see a bone specialist at the Children's Hospital." At the hospital, they gave me scans, blood tests, and "I've been brave" sticker. They took me to see a specialist, then a specialist. They both said I was normal, completely normal, extra normal, abnormally normal, but tall. "He's just a little boy. He's growing too quickly," said Mum. "Oh, we all feel like that about our children, Mrs. Digby, but the important thing to remember is he's still a child, even though he looks like a grown-up. Just because he can't shop in the children's clothes section anymore, that doesn't mean his childhood is over. Boys grow at different speeds, particularly at this point in their lives. You might go back after the summer, Liam, and find that everyone's had a bit of a spurt, and you're not the tallest in the class." "Do you know, that makes sense," said Mum. "His dad was tall at primary, and now look at him. He's well below average height. In fact," said Dad, "I'm slightly above average." "In fact, you are not." "Only very slightly, but very definitely I am above average." "Oh, we'll talk about this another day," said Mum, which is what she always said when she wants you to shut up. The special specialist was partly right about the growing spurts. Nearly everyone had had one over the summer, including me. When Mum wanted to mark my height on the "See How I Grow" chart in the kitchen, she had to get a chair to reach the top of my head. "Oh," she said, "you've had a spurt." And Dad said, 7 inches is not a spurt, 7 inches is a mutation." On my very first day at Waterloo High, I was the tallest person on the lower school site. The new information Mum had bought me at the beginning of the summer didn't fit. Sorry, not information, that didn't make any sense, but I listened and I realised that it didn't make any sense. The new uniform Mum had bought at the beginning of the summer didn't fit anymore, and they had to send off for an extra large lower school blazer. I got a special dispensation to wear my own clothes for the first half term. And when we went to get my travel pass for the bus to school, the woman in the office wouldn't believe I was of school age, so we had to go home and get my birth certificate. And then the next morning when I showed it to the bus driver, she wouldn't believe it was mine, and I had to get off the bus and text Mum, and she had to come down and explain to the driver of the next bus that I was unusually tall for my age. "It's not the height, love," said the driver. "It's the stubble." Mum said, "Oh, am I going to have to do this every morning?" "Only till we all get used to him." In the end, Mum sent off for a passport for me, and I kept it in my pocket just in case I got questioned again. Dad said, "That'll keep you out of trouble." How wrong can a person be, by the way? Dad also gave me his old mobile phone, so if he ever lost me again, like an enchantment land, he would be able to find me. His phone's got Drax World on it. In case you didn't know, that's a cosmic application that shows you your present location, directions to anywhere from anywhere, and also live satellite photographs of anything in the world. You can use it to look at volcanoes erupting, tidal waves, forest fires, anything. And Dad used it to make sure the traffic is flowing smoothly on the bypass. That first day at Waterloo High, I was on Drax World all the way to school on the 61. I used it to look at theme parks and thrill rides. I found Oblivion in Alton Towers, Space Mountain in Euro Disney, The Terror in Camelot, Thunder Dolphin, Air, all of them. As the bus was crawling along Waterloo Road, I typed in Waterloo, wondering if I'd be able to get a satellite view of the bus. Instead, the screen filled up with thousands of options. There were Waterloos everywhere. Waterloo Station in London, Waterloo the ports in Sierra Leone, Waterloo in Belgium. We could go round the whole planet just jumping from Waterloo to Waterloo. I found Waterloos and waterfalls, Waterloos in the jungle, Waterloos in snowy mountains, and Waterloos with sandy white beaches, and I couldn't figure out why anyone who wanted to live in Waterloo would think, yes, Waterloo, but not one of the ones with the big beach, or the one with the limitless white wastes of Siberia. No. The one with the flyover handy for the New Strands shopping centre. Draxwell gives you directions to anywhere, so it's not like it would be hard. If you were a proper grown-up and not just a stubbly boy, if you're my dad, for instance, all you have to do is fill your car with petrol, turn left, turn right, go straight on. Next thing you know, white beaches, snowy mountains, coral reefs. Truly grown-upness is wasted on grown-ups. When I got to school, Miss Sass, the head, saw me into reception and said, Tom! Liam. Yes, of course, I'm Lorraine, come this way. I remember thinking, fancy her telling me her first name, isn't that friendly? Mrs. Kendall never told us her first name. When we were in Joan of Arc. So Lorraine took me off to the staff room and started telling me the names of all the teachers. They all shook hands with me and said they were pleased to meet me. I was thinking, what a polite school. I wonder if they do this to every new kid. It must take ages. And Lorraine said, everybody, this is Liam Middleton, our new head of media studies. And she was pointing at me. I know I should have put her right there and then, but someone gave me a mug of coffee and a custard cream and sat me down in a nice big cosy chair. So I thought, I'll tell her later when I've eaten the biscuit. Then Lorraine said, we've got assembly this morning. I'll bring you up to the stage and introduce you to the whole school. Do you have anything you'd like me to say about you? Like what football team you support? Or any other interests that you may have? I suppose that would have been a good time to say, very interestingly, I'm not a teacher. I'm a year 7. But she just seemed happy, so happy. So I said, I like massively multiplayer online computer games. She looked at me a bit blank. Like World of Warcraft, where you have an avatar and your avatar has skills and goes on quests. Said Lorraine. We are great believers in promoting skills here at Waterloo High. I've got lots of skills, I said. Of course, some of them aren't that useful in real life, like dragon taming. Some of them are illegal, like knife throwing. I think that's illegal. I think it probably is. I did try to persuade the head of my last school to start a World of Warcraft club, but she just looked at me like I was an idiot. At that point, Lorraine looked at me like I was an idiot. Then the bell went. We better go through to assembly. Maybe just introduce yourself or something. Don't worry about being interesting. So that's how I ended up on the stage, standing just behind Lorraine while she talked to the whole school. There were about 8 people on the front row who knew me because of being at Joan of Arc Primary 2, including Florida Kirby, who kept waving and making faces. Lorraine said everyone was welcome and she hoped that everyone had a good summer, and then something about a new registration procedure. And then she said, and now I'd like to introduce you to a new member of staff. He's going to be teaching media studies and he'll be form tutor for class 9 Mandela. This is Mr. Middleton. And she pointed at me. I stepped up to the microphone and said, oh, thanks, Lorraine. Oh, sorry, Mrs. Sass. But everyone in the hall was already muttering, Lorraine, her name's Lorraine. And Lorraine was looking cross. All these faces were looking up at me. Part of me was thinking, I really should think more about the consequences of my actions. Then this wouldn't happen to me. But another part of me was thinking, this is good. I said, morning, everybody. And everybody said, morning, sir. Sir, I said, has anyone here been to Waterloo near Liverpool? 1,200 hands shot up and waggled in the air like a salute. looking at them, I felt like the bad emperor in Star Wars. I took a breath and said, has anyone been to Waterloo in Belgium? Scene of the original Battle of Waterloo, 1815. No one. I said, Siberia? Siberia is as big as Europe. It's got the largest freshwater lake in the world. A lake so big that it has its own species of dolphin. The ice is so thick that the railway runs over it. It's also got a town called Waterloo. Has anyone been to Waterloo? Siberia? No one put their hand up. Why not? No one answered, but they all squirmed in their seats as though going to Siberia was homework and they hadn't done it. Waterloo in Sierra Leone? No one had. Sierra Leone has lush rainforest and amazing history. Anyone? No one. Why? They all squirmed again. Why have we all been to Waterloo with the bypass and the shopping precinct, but none of us have been to the Waterloo with the Waterloo with the waterfall, the Waterloo in the jungle, the Waterloo by the frozen lake? Why? These places are not in Narnia, they're real places. You don't have to find a magic wardrobe to get to them. They're not in Arizona. You don't need to create an avatar and climb inside a computer. They're real places. You can go there by bus. Sometimes it'll take a lot of buses, but they're just there. They're part of your world. Someone shouted, yes! And I was amazed to see it wasn't one of the children, it was Lorraine. I realised now that she thought I was being a bit metaphorical. If you didn't know what that word meant before, metaphorical, can you have a think about it and look it up? Metaphorical. What word does it sound like? Can you think of a word that we use in our creative writing that it sounds like? Metaphorical. Metaphorical. Have a think. Pause the video. Have a little think. She thought I was going to say something about education opens up worlds for you all or something, but I didn't. I said, let's go. No one moved. They all thought I was being metaphorical too. I said, come on, what are we doing here? Let's go. Come on, follow me. I don't know where that last bit came from. It just came out. It was part of the flow of the thing. I walked out down the middle of the hall towards the doors at the back, and it took a minute, but someone did follow me. Then someone else. Then someone else and someone else. And everyone followed me out of the hall, through the lower school exit and into the playground. The sun was shining. The birds were singing. I walked up the gates and pushed. Nothing happened. Waterloo High is a high security school. The gates are locked at 9 a.m. and no one can get in with or without a swipe card. That's why there was a man in a leather jacket standing on the other side of the gates talking into the intercom. I'm the new head of media studies, he was saying. And over the intercom, the secretary was saying, I don't understand. You're already here. You're taking the assembly. By then, Lorraine was at the gate. She looked at the actual new head of media studies. Then she looked at me and hissed, who are you? I did try to explain it all to her. I said, I'm really sorry, Lorraine. Don't call me Lorraine anymore. It's Mrs. Sass. Yes, Mrs. Sass. Why don't you tell me your real name? I did. But, well, you should have had more sense, a big lad like you. How does Liam feel about being called that? When I got home, Mum said, so how did it go? First day at big school? I said, all right. Is that all you're going to say? All right. No, what else? Oh, I'm starving. Sometimes it's better not to go into too much detail.